Let's be honest, when you're on the road or at camp, getting reliable power away from your car is an absolute nightmare. You usually have to pick between two terrible options. Option 1 is you carry a standard power bank. It's small and lightweight, but once it's flat, it's basically a disposable battery. You can't charge it with solar, and it's definitely not going to run anything like a fridge or a heated blanket. Option 2, you spend some serious hard-earned cash and you buy a battery box or a portable power station. You get a big lithium battery, a DC to DC charger, an MPPT solar controller, and a bunch of messy cables. On paper, that sounds fantastic because you get all the power you'll need. But let me tell you from first-hand experience, once you install it in your canopy, you're not going to be taking it out ever again. It's way too heavy and inconvenient to move around, and it's impractical to use as a mobile power unit. However, this is where the Anker Solix C300 DC comes into the picture. Powerful enough to run your 12-volt fridge overnight, versatile enough to use and carry everywhere you need power, and small enough to literally fit in the palm of your hand. What's up everybody, I'm Ayman and welcome back to Bush Business. This right here is the Anker Solix C300 DC portable power station. And spoiler alert, I absolutely love it. But before I tell you why I love it, for disclosure, I purchased this item right here with my own money. There is no sponsorship in this video, so you're getting my honest opinion as always. And with that out of the way, let's get straight to business. I purchased this Anker C300 DC out of necessity. I found myself in a position where I needed to run and charge my electronics away from the Land Cruiser or trailer. It was impractical to run long wires from the canopy to my setup, and I was burning through my power banks very quickly using multiple battery packs a day. Whilst I do have an expensive solar blanket that I purchased with the idea of using it for this purpose, and it does have USB ports on the controller, I wasn't aware that both PWM and MPPT solar controllers must be connected to a 12-volt battery to activate the controller, therefore making my very expensive solar blanket completely useless. And I couldn't use it for things like topping up my Starlink mini batteries for the reviews that I'm doing. After considerable research, I discovered this mini portable power station that fixed all of these problems. So let me give you a quick rundown of these specs. It has a 288 watt-hour, 90,000 milliamp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. It also has a built-in MPPT solar controller and a DC to DC charger, so it can be charged from the car directly or through unregulated solar as long as the voltage is below 28 volts. There are 7 output ports on this little thing, and they can all be used at the same time. It has 3 high-power USB-C ports, 2 of them are 140 watt bidirectional, and an output-only 100 watt USB-C port. That is more than enough power to charge the most demanding electronic gear you might have. It also has a 12-volt DC socket, perfect for a portable 12-volt fridge or your heated blanket, and more on this later. And finally, for output ports, it does have 3 more low-wattage USB-C ports for gear that won't work using high-wattage USB. Charging the Anker C300 is just as impressive. The 2 140 watt USB-C ports can be used at the same time to provide an input charge of up to 288 watts. That means you can charge this little power station from 0% to 100% in just over 1 hour. There is also a XT60 port that can be used for DC charging from solar or from your car directly. And to make that work for my car, I purchased an Anderson to XT60 cable, and it worked a treat. Other notable features are a built-in lantern, which is incredibly useful and handy, and a very well thought of and designed display screen and app. You can easily monitor your power consumption and charge times both on the screen and in the app. And I love being able to see this because I can plan around my charge and run times. The app also lets you remotely control various functions on the C300. For example, controlling the light brightness or turning power on and off to the DC socket. And it actually gives you notifications on your phone when the charge is running low, a very important safety feature. With the specifications out of the way, how does this little power station change the rules of camping? Let me show you just how versatile this thing is. On my recent trip, I decided to camp at Clyde River National Park. And normally when I go there, I have to set up my table and workstation beside my Land Cruiser to maintain power, and then walk back to and forth the river trying to enjoy some fishing or a nice view. For this trip, none of this was a problem. I set up my table and full office right on the riverbank, and I stayed there working and fishing without having to walk back to my car at all. The Anker power station was plenty to keep everything fully powered, and as a matter of fact, I caught my dinner and cooked it while I was still working. When the sun set, I turned on the lantern and I had plenty of night without having to use any of my torches. What made this test even more impressive and something you can't even plan for is that it started raining and all I had to do is pick up my whole table and carry it under my awning. I didn't even have to disconnect a single cable for that. When it was time to retire for the night, the C300 joined me up in the tent and I worked, watched a movie, browsed the web, and it still didn't run out of power. The next morning, my Starlink mini power stand did run out of power, but the Anker still had 25% charge, so I decided to test out the solar and pass-through charging, and it worked a treat. The Anker was powering everything as well as charging the battery pack for the Starlink mini, using whatever sunlight was available from the solar. And whilst I didn't use the Anker to power my fridge on this specific trip, I was curious to know how it would handle that kind of load, so I ran the test, and it ran the fridge for 12 hours cooling from ambient to 1 degree Celsius on maximum settings without struggling at all. Take a second to let that sink in. A power station that you can literally pick up with a single finger just ran a decent sized fridge for 12 hours. And that opens up a whole new level of possibilities. You can camp in the cold and have a 12-volt heated blanket to keep you warm. You can power a CPAP machine overnight. You can take a fridge on a picnic to keep your drinks cold or the kids' ice cream frozen. Really, you can use it for absolutely anything short of induction cooking. And on that, I also think it will be an absolute game changer for tradies. The Anker Solix C300 AC version even has a built-in inverter. Plug the solar blanket in and use the AC outlets to charge your Makita batteries at the job site, and you won't have to keep walking back to your canopy to get fresh batteries when your tools run out of power. However, in saying everything that I've just said, and as impressive as it is, it's not even the best part. This doesn't cost much at all. I paid $270 Australian for this while it was on special. And even at full price, nothing comes close to its value for what you get. However, nothing is perfect, and whilst it has all the elements of a top quality battery box, size and weight limit the battery size. At 24 amp hours, I feel like it's just a little bit too little for complete solo camping. It will last half a day without solar charging under heavy use. However, with some creativity, you can treat external power banks as extended batteries for this power station. When you need more power, plug your external power bank in the 140 watt USB-C port, and that's going to charge the Solix C300. I tested that using 2 high-speed power banks, and the Anker was charging itself at a very high speed of 188 watts. After you charge the Anker C300 with your power banks, the next day when the sun is up or when you're driving, you can then charge the Solix C300 using the car or solar, and then plug those power banks back in, and the C300 will use pass-through charging to charge your batteries back up and charge itself at the same time. So it definitely does have its own limitations purely due to its size, but because it's so affordable and it's so portable and versatile, everyone can find a genuine need for this power station in their setup. If you are new to camping or you don't have a fixed battery system yet in your car, the Anker C300 can take over running your fridge and electronics when you stop driving, saving your crank battery from running flat. And if you already have a great battery system, think of this power station as a detachable extension. It's going to allow you to take your 12-volt fridge, blankets, and accessories away from your fixed battery system, or simply act as a smart solar control hub to charge your devices away from your car if you're parked in the shade. And that way you can make the most of your solar blankets and panels, especially if they're detachable from the car. For me, the convenience of not having to be plugged in is something I have enjoyed every single day at home and on the road since purchasing this little power unit. I can now work from anywhere at home or at camp without needing to be plugged in. And that allows me to spend more time with my family and actually see my kids running around while I do my work instead of being locked up in my man cave editing. Let me know in the comments below, how are you currently running your power at camp? Are you using a heavy battery box or are you just scraping by with some power banks? I would also love to hear your thoughts on what you think of this unit, and if you did have it, how would you use it in your setup? I did put a link in the description below to this item for you to check out so you don't have to go on Google and look it up. Also, if you haven't already done so, please hit that like and subscribe button for me. It costs you absolutely nothing, but it does help me out a lot in growing this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.